Aloha Kohala. It is 3 o'clock on January 24th, 2024, 12424. You're listening to KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala. This is Intuitive Talk Story with Isla Allgood and
Mikkel Anna.
And we are live and alive today, aren't we?
We are live, and this is actually our first show of 2024.
Yes.
So, yay.
Yes.
Welcome to 2024 for Intuitive Talk Story. The year seems to already be somewhat moving fast out there, and it seems like a really amazing, I think a lot of things are going to be coming to light this year. It's going to be fast moving and a lot of things coming forward, and a lot, as usual, opportunity to grow and to expand and to move into our greater gifts. I heard one person frame it kind of put forward who are you wanting to be by the end of this year? Like set some real great goals of what am I going to embody. By the end of this year, I'm going to be embodying my gifts at this level. I'm really going to own this place in my life. So having these internal goals versus like, well, I'm going to have a red car.
Yes.
Instead, more of like, I'm going to embody that wholeness this year. I'm going to really embody worthiness. I'm really feeling into that. I'm going to squash out anything else that's not needed.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we don't even know what we want it all to look like, but posing the questions to ourselves, what would I like to see in my life at the end of the year? Meaning when I look in the mirror, and not physically, but, what do I want to see different or maybe evolved? How do I want that to look?
Yeah. So also in thinking of that, like, because for a second you're like, it went real wide. Like, what do I want my life to be, or who do I want to be? That seems like a really wide question, and probably too much for any of us to answer. We're like, I don't know. But when we go kind of like the way we approach health and systematically is like from that wide angle, which is why it seems very overwhelming. But when we approach health or the self as a root experience, and we distill things down to root causes, then we distill to one thing, and that one thing or a couple things actually fixes a bunch of stuff. So if we just concentrate, I'm really going to own, I am worthy of God's unconditional love. I'm worthy of unconditional love. Just worthiness, just that. Or moving through, I feel loved and supported. This is the year of safety for me internally. Because if you do that, if you're focusing on this one thing, we actually catch all that other stuff. Because in my worthiness, now I no longer feel, I'm not calling in these other situations, because we remember we are a vibration and we are creating our reality, and we're vibrating all the time. So whatever we are experiencing is being vibrated to us.
And when love is at the root of whatever it is we are putting out there for ourselves or putting inside ourselves, everything does fall into place around that to support that, because it's a high vibrational frequency.
Absolutely. But getting to love is actually what we're talking about. So you might say, I want to love and I feel love, but there's still a piece of you that doesn't feel like I'm enough, or I have to do this or do that to get love. So what we're talking about is the movement to that place of feeling complete love, and that being your foundation. Anyone out there, being that you're, a foundation for you. But it starts, we have to move through our wounding in order to leap from a platform of love consistently. So that might be, that's our intention, maybe, but maybe I want to know where I'm at in that. And I know, this still gets me. So I don't want to ignore it. I want to say, I'm looking at this. And I'm looking at that one thing, worthiness or this or that, to break free from a whole lot of things. Because once I pull that thing, that lifts my vibration up.
Right.
And now I'm operating in more of that field of love.
Yeah.
And now I'm creating new experiences. I'm not experiencing the same experiences I was having previously.
Let's have a little concrete example, because I shared with you that all my clothes are tight right now because of some of the food choices I'm making. I'm eating healthy, and I'm eating other things that are changing that. And it's looking at, how do I love myself and accept, yet still want to make improvements on my behaviors, not on who I am, but on my behaviors. And, it's like a dance. It's like a dance with, I love myself and I accept myself, and I want to make choices to make sure my body stays healthy. So I think it's valuable. I put myself in this as a way to just talk about
Use an
something
example.
concrete,
Yeah.
because we all have stuff that comes up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So I love this. So when we talked about this before, we found that the eating, right, isn't really about eating. It's about trying to fill up something else. I want to fill myself up with something, but that's something I may be trying what I want. Maybe I can't get it, or maybe I'm not feeling that I have access. So I'm going to replace that with something else. Food's one of those things that we replace with. We try to fill ourselves up with food. And so if we just looked at the food and said, Isla, just stop eating so much, Isla.
Right.
Geez, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's not going to address what's really going on. We're only addressing the surface, and she might, then she's going to feel bad about herself because, I did it again.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop myself.
Set oneself up for failure.
Yeah,
right?
You're going to fail because, well, gosh, you still don't feel worthy or whatever, or I'm not good. Whatever thing is navigating that, and it could be a myriad of things, but I'm not getting filled somewhere, and I'm not receiving something. So that's the thing we want to go to. What's the root? What am I really feeling? What's really going on that I'm wanting to eat all the time?
Right.
What am I trying to get? And so when you distill it down to that feeling, now you get to what, that I have to do something in order to be loved. I have to, make sure everyone's good. I'm last and nobody cares about me. Whatever's coming up,
Yeah.
you're going to look at them and go, oh, that's what I'm believing. Oh, so my root cause is really, I love myself and I'm worthy to take up space and be here. And I'm loved just as I am, just being who I am. And I don't need anything else outside of me. I get love direct, connect from source. So you can come up with lots of mantras, but ultimately you want to replace a thought with a new, more improved thought, one that's going to bring you vibrancy, one that's going to help create your life, right? And I told Isla, actually, go ahead.
Yeah. So what comes up for me, because I haven't quite gotten to the root of this yet for myself, is that one of the times I could get to the root, and any of us could, is being outside in nature, being someplace quiet. And it requires me also making my mind quiet from the chit-chat. So I think setting oneself up for success is to know, well, where could I get the answer? Well, I know I have the answer. So maybe I need to go off for the day and sit at the ocean and just stare at the ocean, or maybe I just need 15 minutes of quiet time where I can ask myself, my higher self, the question, what's going on? How can I improve this? How can I switch? What's at the root? And then listen for the answer. And I haven't gotten there yet. So, I'm still on this path of discovery like everybody else out there.
Well, one practice that I've talked about before that I love is the evening reflective process of taking, 10, 15 minutes, longer sometimes, honestly. But I like to sit outside, and I used to do this a lot. And where you sit in the stars and or sit outside and just review your entire day. So you roll it back from the beginning, and you literally go through your whole day and all your interactions with individuals and see what was going on with me during that interaction. What was I feeling when I was talking to Joe Blow, to Susie Q? And, I was being kind of weird. I was feeling insecure. I was impatient, noting those places. And then I would really stop, at each one and think, well, where was that coming from? Why was I being impatient with Joe? I wasn't feeling this. I wasn't feeling this. I'm not feeling good enough. Now I've distilled it down to a root feeling. So then now I would apologize and do a Ho'oponopono with Joe Blow in the ethers. I'm not with Joe.
Yeah.
I just, thank you, Joe. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And I choose to learn today. And I'm going to love myself. And I forgive myself. And I move forward. And so then putting in, I'm enough. I'm worthy. I get to love myself. I get to show up from this new vantage point tomorrow. And making that conscious choice and making notes, so to speak, and writing it down, you are manifesting, right? You've just gone through it, you've cleared it, you've zeroed it out, and you've seen where it comes from, and now you're making a observation. Okay, so that's going to be different tomorrow. I set my intention to that. So when you do that with every part of your day, you realize a lot of things that you wouldn't realize otherwise. You'd think, well, I know what I did all day. I don't need to review it, but you do. Because
Well, you're not looking at the tasks of the
you're
day.
right, you're looking at yourself.
You're not looking at what you accomplished. Oh, I got to the post office
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mailed that card and blah, blah, blah. It's really, well, I was talking to that person. I didn't feel so good at the end of that. What was that about?
Yeah.
And reflecting on that. And that takes a little time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, or that felt wonderful. What was it about that felt so wonderful? What was that? What was that meeting for me? What was that?
Right. Thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
in. And that it's good to bring up your positive,
Sure.
your wins and your things that you're working
The
on.
challenges.
Because it's also
Yeah.
really nice to acknowledge your gifts and to acknowledge, like, I did a good job there. When you did a good job, acknowledge yourself and
Right.
give yourself a good job. And that helps us. And when we talked about goals, make attainable goals. I was just speaking with a client yesterday about attainable goals. So if you're like, I really need to do yoga, don't make a goal
Yes.
that, like, I'm going to go to that yoga class every Tuesday and Thursday,
Yes.
and that's what I'm going to do.
And I'm committed for the next 2 years.
Yeah, and then you end up not going.
Yes.
Right? And then you're mad at yourself, like, see, I don't do anything right. I can't
Yep.
even keep a stupid commitment to yoga. I'm a dummy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we do that to ourselves. So make attainable goals. I'm probably not going to get to that place but I could get up out of my bed and sit on my living room floor, and that I could
And stretch for 6 minutes,
for
yeah.
10 minutes, 6 minutes, and make that my priority, something I can achieve, right? So you want to do things you can achieve. Can I really make that happen? Is that possible? Because once you achieve that next goal, then the other goal is just slightly closer and slightly closer to where we get to where you're like, this is maybe where I want to be operating all the time. And this operating all the time, what is that? I was laughing with Isla recently when I was telling her about my own story of like kind of just waking up out of the gate, really getting entered into Human Lessons 101, I called it, at about 23 years old. And I felt I had a business partner. I got here in Kohala. My entrance into North Kohala was Hula La's Burrito Bar, where I partnered with a woman who had lived here already, and I was just arriving, and I didn't know anything about anything in that regard. And I, at the time, was a young, dreadlock girl,
Full of
jamming
enthusiasm.
reggae and, enthusiasm. And we're making this Mexican place. She is a New Yorker, daughter of a porn star, New York Jew, and really flamboyant and very different from me. And it was very challenging. And I kind of like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And Spirit told me, I could hear my guide saying, yeah, well, when you love her, you'll be done. What? Yeah, when you love her, you'll be done. Oh, okay. So I have to love this whole thing. I got to love her, love it. And then you'll be set free from the situation, because it's really my test. See, everything is really your own test. It's not like, oh God, can you believe that? No, they're in your life because there's something match. There's a match there. It's vibrating to you.
There's no accident.
There's no accident. It's my test to release whatever is there for me, and then love it. Feel zero, feel neutrality, feel at ease with it. I'm actually not done until I do. I'm only running from myself and creating it somewhere else, because I will if I didn't finish it. So I did. And then literally it was like, poof, we parted ways. She decided, I'll take it. And it just magically moved into the right situation. But it wasn't until I had done the spiritual work that the external situation, poof, moved into the other thing. So if we try to create from out there, it's, again, there's nobody out there. Will always get stuck. But if we go back internally and create here, realizing you are on this magical journey, this magical ride, and it really is about loving everything, because everything you see is you. I am you. You are me. It is but one thing. It's a really big one thing, but it's one thing. And so we are on this magical journey of finding this, knowing if I can just love everything in front of me, then I'm literally moving through the places. Just love it. Love it. Love wherever you are. Wherever you are, love it. You can't always change your circumstance, but you change how you meet it. I can't change that I'm on the side of the road, but I can sit on the side of the road crying with my hands in my face, or I can be like, that's all right. A ride's going to come. The right people are going to come. I'm going to get my car fixed. It's going to be great. It's all about attitude, right? We change your attitude and change the game. So
we what we're talking about here is accepting what's going on in your life. And I just saw a video of someone talking about this the other day, and it really resonated for me. It's like what he was saying, it just really rang true that if you're contemplating moving your residence, or not hanging out with this friend anymore, or not being in that relationship anymore, or should I stay at this job? The first thing that is most important is that we accept where we are, and that we chose to be here for some reason, and there's value in that. And then to change our attitude, to have a loving and kind attitude no matter what. If you think this is like the worst job you've ever had, then change your attitude and say, well, as long as I'm here, I'm going to love it. I'm going to love the people, and I'm going to make the best out of this. And then when it's time, rather than you having to maybe quit the job, or have 20,000 sleepless nights deciding to quit the job, or break up with that person, or move out, it will become so obvious that you don't necessarily have to do anything. The doing is in the embracing, the loving, the kindness, and acceptance. You know what? This is here for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but I'm going with it, and I'm going to love. I'm just going to keep coming from that place of love for other and for myself.
Absolutely, because it's our movie. So
it's our movie.
I'm in my own movie, and everything going on inside of it is there for me to learn. It's a reflection. These are mirrors, and I'm supposed to get the mirror. If it's still hitting me, if I'm still like, I can't believe they're doing that. Jeez. If I'm still feeling that way,
yes,
then I'm getting triggered. That means I still have energy here somewhere. Then this person's actually still a lesson for me. They still got shit for me. Excuse me.
Stuff.
They still got stuff for me to learn, and that's for me to learn. And if I get rid, I'll just get rid of the person.
Yeah,
it's not going to get rid of the thing inside of me. So that's what we say: if you can love everything in front, because you won't really be set free from the thing until you can love it in front of you. So maybe it shows up right now in front of me, in Isla, but it's not Isla. It's she says something that's just bringing something up from somewhere in my life, because rarely is the thing being brought up really by the person straight in front of you. Mm-hmm. It's most likely coming up from somewhere in your life.
It was your friend when you were 5. It was your uncle. It was your parent. It was something that's just you haven't quite gotten the lesson, whatever that lesson might be.
So so what we're saying is get the lesson wherever you are. If there's a lesson there, you can feel it. It's like, I'm still involved in this. I'm still getting made an emotion on some way until I'm in total 0 point about something. Like, you really got nothing. I really am over this. I mean, I'm almost kind of bored. At that point, now I'm not learning anything.
Yeah.
When I have that feeling, now I'm no longer I don't really need this lesson anymore. Now I'm just being of service. And that's cool too. We can be of service.
And if you're engaged with a friend and there's nothing left there, that friend will move on and you will move on. You won't have to make a big decision about it.
It will happen naturally.
It will happen, right.
Things happen naturally when you don't try to make them happen, but you allow, like Ala was moving into accept. You accept what is. You allow the journey. We allow our lessons to be given to us so we can learn them. And once we learn them, then we get to move on to the next set of lessons. Mm-hmm. So if you see everything, every person, every situation as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to like meet another piece of yourself, because that's ultimately what this is. The whole thing is your video game journey to meet another piece of yourself. and you're finding another piece, and that person's now in my life because he's reflecting something that I need to see. Or sometimes it's reflecting how fun I am, or reflecting how great I am. Boy,
Absolutely.
I really have a great time. Gosh, I'm just like Isla too. We have so much fun together. I'm like that. So we get to, you can have that positive reflection as well. We get to empower and impassion each other. The more we rise up that ladder, now we get to activate each other into more love, more fun, more joy, more expansion. And that's the goal here. And that's what this year gets to, I think, move pretty fast in things getting opened, activated, and opportunities to move through lessons and to think a lot of stuff's happening out there. And we send prayers. Just on that note, I want to say prayers to the world, to Maui, to Gaza, to all of the people who are experiencing trauma and pain. Let us not put energy towards seeing suffering. Let us put our energy towards seeing peace, towards seeing all coming to love, all coming to their knowingness within and being healed, and choosing love on this planet. We are powerful co-creators, and we want to put our energy towards that which we are wanting. What is the world we want to live in? In this conversation right now, we're changing, we're jumping earths. We're jumping earths as we learn, as we grow, as we make choices. We are jumping earths in this moment. We're creating a different earth. We're not on the same earth as we were 20 minutes ago, because we're vibrationally changing the way we think, feel, experience, which is creating right now.
As you were talking, all kinds of things were popping up for me. And as you were talking about, we can see the positive in one another too. I think one of the things I've noticed about myself lately is that I haven't been honoring the positive as much as I've been beating myself up for the little nonsensical whatevers. And it's really important. I'm really good at doing that for other people, honoring their positives and their gifts and their moments of glory and whatever. And it's like, okay, I need to we each need to remember to do that for ourselves, to be our own cheerleader for what's happening, and also to know who to call when you need somebody to cheerlead with, someone that's not going to feed into something negative. And we all have stories. So you start telling a story and that person says, oh yeah, you're right. He's this and she's that. And
he's a dirtbag. You should get rid of him.
Now, the other thing that came up for me is I was talking to someone maybe 20 years younger than me, and I used the whole video game thing and the leveling up.
Yeah.
Because this is a generation that grew up with, Super Mario Brothers and getting to the next level and the next level. And I'm like, they were sharing with me a challenge they were having with a new relationship, even though they finally got out of that whole horrible relationship. Well, now they're having some new issue with this new relationship, of course.
Right.
And I'm like, well, maybe the reason this is coming up for you is so that you can really heal it. And when you level up, because we talk about this, when we level up and we find some discomfort, it's our spirits kind of telling us, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to accept that kind of situation anymore. But it's up to us to change it. Yeah. We have to really say, you know what, I'm not going to accept this kind of behavior in my house anymore. I did once, but I'm not anymore. And being sure and clear that we've moved to this next level.
And when we were talking about like running away or this or that, like a moving from one thing to, like you're like, you don't not gonna just get everybody out of here and they're all gonna leave. I'm just out of here. I don't want to deal with any of it. That's not gonna work, right? It reminds me of a Bob Marley song. I'm running and you're running away, but you can't run away from yourself. So
yes,
no matter where you go,
yes.
You'll recreate the situation.
Yes.
So it's easy. Like sometimes don't you look at your house and think, oh, I'd rather just move than clean, or that kind of thought.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you can't, because guess what? You got
to make another mess in the next place.
Exactly, and you haven't picked up your first mess, so you got to deal with your mess. My growing up. The family, they used to say, you make your bed, you sleep in it.
Yes, you
right?
make your bed and you lie in it.
I heard that a lot growing up.
Me too.
So You know, if you're going to make your bed, you're going to sleep in it.
Yeah.
So our goal is to look at what we're actually doing to create the scenario, because once again, when you remember it's your game, when you're not a victim, this is so important. Victim, victimizer is the number one programming running on this planet. And this is huge, the blame game. So catch yourself. If you find yourself being a victim or being a victimizer, well, catch it and choose. I choose to release the victim victimizer programming here and now, and we release that from my being. I choose to take self-responsibility for my actions. So true freedom is true responsibility. To truly be free, we must all be responsible for our own self, for my own actions. I can't be responsible for Isla, but I have to be responsible for me. And what most of us in the world are doing is not being responsible for ourselves, but being pretty darn vocal about why Isla's not being responsible.
and also being responsible for the other person's reaction to you.
Yeah.
Like, I could say something and then your face changes and you look miserable and you're now you're like depressed and am I responsible? Like, I can look at my part, but I don't have to fully embrace that it's all my fault that Michal now looks sad because of something I said that I didn't know was going to set her off from something that happened when she was 10.
Which brings us back to the trigger. That would be her triggering me. And
Yes.
so I would be feeling victimized and maybe playing out the victim thing. And she
Yeah.
was just talking about something and didn't even know that was going to hit some chord.
Right.
And you can see this. All of us have done this in some form. If you haven't worked out these programs, guaranteed they're running in somewhere because it's prevalent. We blame. It's promoted. Blame that guy. Blame that guy.
Yeah.
It's always someone else's fault. So the game is take responsibility. There's nobody really out there. They're just vibrating to you. They're playing their own game. They have a match that vibrates. Like if I'm abusey, they're abuser, we vibrate together. Wow, hey,
Yes.
look at you. So we could play out our drama. So we can play out what wounding is there because we're vibrating at the same place. Once I heal that, I'm no longer going to be attracting that abuser because I don't have that vibration rolling any longer. See, now I'm attracting something else because I'm vibrating at a different place. So our goal is to level up. We want to go on each level, and it feels really kind of like molasses sometimes, and especially in the beginning of the level, like, oh no, this is icky and it's hard and I don't want to. But as you go and you meet yourself, you do those reflective processes, all these things do require intention and a hunger to evolve, to grow, to be more loved, to experience more joy. Hunger is inherent. Passion, you feed that passion that makes you want to have life. Why do you want to do all these things? What are we doing them for? What's the point, right? What do I want to do any of this for? Well, freedom. Navigating your own free soul. You are a much bigger being than you can possibly even imagine. We are in the lowest dimensional framework that we can be in. And you're a multi-dimensional being and having many different experiences simultaneously, honestly. And so the more we get empowered into this vessel, you start owning this spaceship, your car, or, in your vehicle in this earth game. You're inside a vehicle. It's high-tech biology, and you're a soul running it. So lots of things would like to push you, the soul, out of that vehicle and run it. They'd like to run it. They'd like to drive that thing. So you have to stay in charge of your vehicle. Most people are not in charge of their vehicle. They have given authority to a lot of other things. And so that's the game, is claiming authority. But you can only claim authority if you claim responsibility.
With that, we're going to take a station break and come right back.
Okay.
Aloha, we are back. This is KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala.
I'm telling Isla some deep stories over here. So anyway.
And remember, oops, I pressed the wrong button.
No.
One of the things that we want to remember too is, as we're laughing coming back, is to find the humor in things as best you can. Like, no matter where we're at, if we can yes, there's moments where you cry, there's moments where you feel sad, and then look for the laugh. I was watching a video before I came in here, and it was just these women being so silly, and it just made me laugh. And I'm like, yeah, I just love when people can joke around and have a good time, and
Don't take anything personal.
not personal.
If you're
yes.
taking something personal, you're in a trigger, or you're running victimizer. Period.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
really
and
comes-
something to be aware of, and
Mhm.
and maybe you can't deal with it in that second. Maybe you talk to yourself later that night when you have your reflection. And I wanted to bring something else up. As you were talking about responsibility for self, this person that I was thinking of from one relationship to another relationship, and I feel like there's this dance too between being responsible for your reaction and the trigger, and also being kind to yourself. And because, and I don't know if this is a female thing or what, but I think sometimes we can look at something we did, our behavior, say 10 years ago. Oh my God, that was a horrible way that I behaved. I'm an awful person. Like, the difference between that was not a kind way for me to behave, and I did the best I could at the time, versus that was not a kind way for me to behave, and I was just a piece of garbage. Like, there's a line there, and it doesn't serve us or anybody else to put that burden on our back.
So I want to speak to this. This is great you brought this up. So I'm so bad. I'm so horrible. You brought it up earlier, hitting yourself on the head, beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Those really those are components of I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So the root is I'm not good enough, and I'm not good enough comes with a few friends, like offense, defense.
A few friends.
You
I
know,
like that.
like they hang out with that together. They all like to hang out.
Yeah.
So they kind of all set up shop, and then they run their stuff.
It's a whole
It's an
gang,
ensemble.
huh?
Yeah, it's a gang.
It's an ensemble.
It's an ensemble. So they roll together. So when you know that, you're like, okay, so you can feel, if you start paying attention, you feel the click ins. You're like, I'm starting to feel not good. So you actually want to scratch the disc right there. So this is
Scratch the disc.
So programs are like, it's like programming. You all use
Like
computers.
records.
You all use computers. Remember the old not all of you remember floppy disks.
Yeah.
But a CD, most of you know what a CD.
Yeah.
So if we put a little scratch in a song, it's not going to play properly, right?
Yeah.
So if we have this, I'm so bad, I'm such an idiot. This is a program. It runs. It goes, I'm so bad. You say the same things. It's a tape. You can feel it running the program. So if what you want to try and do is do something wacky inside of that, because you're scratching the disc. That program's starting to run. I'm so bad. If you're like, no, you know what? Go. I'm awesome. I am awesome. Yes, I am. Woo! Something crazy to scratch the disc. You've now just inset something into that it can't run the same. If you keep doing, you do these things.
Keep interrupting it.
You interrupt
Keep
it.
interrupt
You interrupt the
those
programs.
thought patterns.
They're programs.
Yeah.
And they really are not even thought patterns. They're programmings. They're not even your own thoughts, which is really important to get and difficult to kind of imagine. But what happens, just like a computer, you have this great new computer, and then you start loading stuff into it. Well, the original operating system is what you are. Right? That's your original operating system. Something gets in there, a little virus or something, you load some other program, and it seeps a little virus over to some other side of your thing. And now this other thing keeps popping up all the time. And I can't get that thing to get off my screen. It's popping up all the time. That's a program. So that's what happens. It's now we hit something, it pops up.
Right.
So everything you understand about technical thing, most of you out there, a lot of you are very technical. You've been on computers, on devices. Everything you understand, you can apply to your spiritual path. It operates the same way, because all of that is only mimicking us, which is the quantum system. God source is a quantum living system, and it works like that because we can manifest right away. You can heal right away. Nothing is what it seems it is once we release the old paradigms and we start to operate more from a place of self-responsibility, more of a place of understanding that we're all vibrating, that truly frequency is the name of the game. We have frequencies. and we have energetic signatures, and we are operating more from a place of moving through life, understanding that you are affecting everything that's happening. You are an amazing creator.
So something that just came up for me while you were talking was, as you're talking about frequency and amazing creator, is somebody said a long time ago, people are more afraid of their own power than they are of anything else, of their own amazing magnificence. And I think it's important for us to look at or talk about a little bit that fear of, if I keep going, I think I think I said years ago on this show with you that when I was married before, my husband at the time, I started taking classes, and he said, I'm going to take those classes too because I don't want to get you to get too far ahead of me. So his only reason for doing it was because he was afraid.
It was fear.
He was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for me. It was because he was afraid. And it really taught me how important it is to, first of all, to follow what you feel that you need to do, and to not be afraid that the people around you may not be going down the same path you're going. Because there'll be new people, or there'll be new situations. And sometimes we hold ourselves back, myself included, because it's like, well, it might even be a subconscious, I don't want things to change, so I'm going to be careful of what I'm doing, and I'm not going to evolve too much.
Right. I don't want to get too far ahead of the people around me. And also some codependency things. I remember when I was in my 20s with my boyfriend then, I'm like, well, I want you to stretch with me. I want you to meditate with me. I want you let's do it together. And he didn't want to do it. And so then I wouldn't do it.
Yes.
Okay, well, I won't.
Yes.
I'll just sit with you and do
very
whatever
common.
You want to
Yeah,
do.
let's watch TV.
Yeah, I'll just do what you're doing. And that's on me, right?
Yeah.
That was on me to not follow myself. So I learned after that, the next round, I didn't do that. I decided I'm going to follow myself. I'm going to really be committed. And for me, I really like the energy of saying, the bottom line is I am committed to serve my source fully, completely, and totally. So I'm committed to that first, which means I'm committed to God, to the path of God, to embodying the energies of the Holy Mother, Holy Father, the Christic Light. And so in that commitment, it supersedes everything. So it even said, so that helps actually, because it supersedes when we're in relationship too, in partnerships and romantic and friendships and everything. You got to go high. You got to go to the higher level. So this is where we get into loving everything and living in love, surrendering, which is, I think, honestly, what I find for a lot of people and for myself. Gosh, it's hard to surrender. It's hard to surrender at all. It means when you're like, Isla, I really want you to give me a hug right now, and you like,
and I don't want to.
And you don't want to. It means I really have to surrender. You know what? Isla's not able to give me a hug right now. And that's okay. I can give myself a hug. I'm held by it means I have to go to God, to go to the Holy Mother, and I have to let the Holy Mother hold me.
Yes.
And I have to receive God's love and know that I don't need anything from anywhere out there. Isla's hug isn't going to make it for me. I make it for me. I have what I need within me. God's source energy is here. I have to go to God. I have to go be filled up by source. And let that be the voice that runs through me. I have to surrender, not of my will, but divine will. I surrender to God's infinite love. And I allow that to be that flows through here, that which moves through my being, and I let it fill me, and I surrender everything else, knowing that maybe Isla was hurt. Maybe she can't give me a hug because she was hurt and nobody gave her a hug. She doesn't even know how to give me a hug right now because she's in her own trigger. And so she's not even capable of doing that. So I am responsible to everything I know, and I actually know how to give myself a hug, actually. And I just need to go to God and do that.
And in that statement that you're making, you're also releasing expectation of other.
There's nobody out there.
I shouldn't be surprised when you say that, but it just cracks me up. Because I'm like so serious with that statement.
You are. You're always like, everybody, what about those other people?
Those expectations of others. Oh, there's nobody out there.
Well, there's nobody there because they're really playing out your movie. they change. The movie, they change as you change. Your movie changes. The situation changes. It feels different. It just begins to change. You're like, was that always there? I don't know if I ever saw that before. Wow. Gosh. Akira's a really interesting, funny one. And when I had a lot of father, my father was not present in my life younger. So working out my daddy issues was the big thing. So my dad's wife, whom I love, they were staying at my house one year about a decade ago when I was in Africa doing work, and I came back, and I had been doing a lot of spiritual work in those last couple of years, and that at that time period around feeling good enough. And my dad had been a really big source of that. And every time I'd been around him, I'm working it out. Yes. I was coming up against myself. I'm getting triggered the whole time I'm ever hanging out with him. And so his wife inevitably sees me that way.
Yes.
She didn't
She doesn't even know the other.
She doesn't even know me, like the real me. And so she was, I came home, and she very kind of timidly and scaredly goes, I found this really nice pen. I found it in your drawer. Don't get mad. I put it on a pillow, and it's sitting on the table, and I hope that's okay. And I just looked at her, and I went, wow, I am so sorry. I've been such a horror, like a terror. And I've been so snappy or intense or, snippy or whatever, that you feel like you have to approach me like timidly on tiptoes.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that I have acted that way. I apologize to you, and I really appreciate that you put the pin there. It looks really beautiful. That was you following your guidance. That thing's been in. It's a beautiful thing that needs to come out of that drawer. It needs to be seen, and you were following that. And I'm really grateful, and I appreciate you. And how gratifying it was for me, and how obvious, like, wow, I was really different when I was totally in my wound. Yes. And now I'm not, and I can see it, like, I did that? Geez, wow, I'm really sorry.
Or that there was something about how you were interacting when you were in their presence that
I was being defensive.
That was the only person she knew. She didn't know all the other characteristics that you had, because you were just that person when you were there.
She had an expectation that I was going to get on her case.
Yes.
Because
maybe it happened a few times.
Oh, yeah, it had, because I could be intense.
Yeah.
That's a common word. I would be intense.
Yeah.
And so once I moved through that, you kind of went, oh my gosh, that was, I did that stuff. I'm so sorry. I didn't even mean to. And you can see it, and it doesn't even, and it's really so obvious that it's not yours. That they're programs.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even feel like it was yours. It just feels like, oh, whoops, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh, that's crazy. Holy cow.
My father remarried when I was in my 20s, I guess. And I always had, I had a challenge with it, because he left my mother and, that whole thing. And anyway, when I think back to his wife, I can see, she had a lot of programs. She had so many things. He had so many things. And then I had my things. And it was all so kind of messy. And because it wasn't anyone trying to hurt anybody. It was just everyone in their wounds.
Yeah.
Interacting in the same space. It was like, ah.
And this is what all of us have been really steeped in, and this is really great to understand, because it takes a lot of charge, and there's no blame back to that, because that's victimizing. No blame going on. We're just observing that we've all been in trauma. It's not like, so-and-so's in trauma, you should get out of there. No, we're all in trauma. We've all been through trauma, and most of us, all of us, in some form, our parents' traumas and programming is what we then as children try to heal, or we hand down, or we then do the same one. So if we make a choice to start moving through this deep self-work, which is reflective work, choosing to take responsibility, using tools, meditation, eating well, giving your body what you need, body, mind, spirit, you're making a choice to heal, which does affect not just you, but your lineage. You are connected through the DNA, and we all incarnated into these lines for reasons. You have access to that entire cache of information. And as you make choices, especially if you're a parent, know that you're actually affecting it for your children. You're changing the line. You're allowing that program doesn't need to run in this line any longer. The buck stops here. we're creating freedom so that we are navigating the game, so that, as Isla said, about people and not understanding their power. I think the greatest problem we have is that it's a world full of divine co-creators who have no idea that's what they are. And as you get to know that you are actually a child of God, that you're a hologram of the infinite, so it's like we're children of God, but we have all the, like, it's like, if you ever had a Facebook group, you can have, like, there's one member, but you can give other admins, they have the exact same power as you. Yeah, so we're like that. We have a hologram. We're a hologram of God. I'm like a God's ambassador here, and so are you. We're all God's ambassadors. We're all eyes of God. We all have the infinite command of the divine light, if we so choose, in this form, because I am that I am, and I'm a representative of God.
And we're all connected, and we're all part of the same.
Well, it's all God.
It's all one.
There's nobody out there, Isla.
Well, you're right there. Come on.
True enough, but we get to be, which I love, is that we get to be the fractals, and that's like the diamond facet. So you can still see it as that one. That's a great way to visualize it, the one thing, but there's all these facets. So Isla and I are not the same thing, but we're part of the same one thing. So,
and we're all doing and playing out different parts of that, and exhibiting different gifts. Yes. And, as you're talking about, kind of doing your work, in that it actually helps both our ancestors and our descendants. And when I think of that and I'm out walking, I'm like, talking to all of them and thanking them, and also wanting to do what I need to do for them. And one thing that's up for me is that as I look at who's next in my descendant category, as I watch my child go through things, my child who's like almost 40 years old, it's very clear to me that, and I don't know if I'm projecting or if there's something for me to say, or it's really just for me to do my own stuff. But I see her playing out in this new relationship, stuff that I saw her experience from her father. And I don't think she's connected those two dots. It's one of those topics that we dance around, because he and I have been apart for so long that I'm always cautious about stepping on that and that relationship, or even calling attention to it. And then I think, as we're talking about, we're cleaning up stuff for our ancestors, our descendants, maybe there's something in there for me about my father that I,
Bingo.
So it's not just about other, because there's no other.
It's never about other. But we're going to keep reminding Isla.
But I say, I bring all this up as examples to people,
I know. We kid around.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say about that, though, is yes to the revelation that you heal it backward and forward, and that you actually, by doing the work inside yourself, see, as you empower your own self and you heal that pattern, you do help heal it for your child. And you help. And all of us are really dating our mother or father. Everybody's doing that. We're all calling in partnerships that have those pieces. Different aspects, the aspects that usually have pain. And the reason why is because we are going, you have to have the reflections in order to see it. So you're going to experience pain and trauma until you don't have any. So it has to come up somewhere. And the truth for all of us is, most of our dark stuff, or the things that are really hard, aren't going to come up until you're in an intimate relationship. It's the more intimate, the partnership, the friendships, that's where you can have pain. Right. Because now you mean something to me, and now I'm vulnerable, and now now I'm worried that you're not going to be there, and now I'm feeling this, and now I'm feeling that.
And now maybe I'll do something about it, because I don't want this relationship to end.
Maybe that's a motivator, or maybe it's just that I want to be a good person. But I'm saying we just, in relation, what I mean is more that in relationships is where your stuff's going to come up.
Right.
If you're alone and you never see people, you probably have some stuff that you don't know about, because you don't have anybody reflecting anything to you. You think, I'm great. But do you have a conversation with anybody? How did they think it went great? So basically people and situations are kind of like gauges for us. Like, where am I at? If you haven't been out for a while, well, go out and having a couple, go cruise through, go somewhere and have some experiences. How did your interactions go? Was it easeful? Was it nice? Was it difficult? Whatever you experienced is what you're creating. And you want to
Right.
take note. What am I creating? Am I always stuck in traffic? Am I always like late? Am I always getting yelled at by somebody?
Yeah.
Is somebody always scolding me? That's my father who used to scold me, and I'm still getting scolded everywhere. See, because I'm creating it because I still have a wound. And until I actually change that, I'm going to keep creating it. So right here, unfortunately, our radio taping accidentally cut off. So the rest of the show is not here, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up as we just had maybe about another 8 minutes left. And just kind of basically say that in general, what we've discussed today is if we just really can love what's in front of us, if we can use the mirrors of our life to see ourselves and take self-responsibility, embracing what's in front of us, embracing the opportunity to learn whatever lesson is being presented, then we're going to have a much easier time. So embrace, use the opportunities, use those mirrors, and embrace and love everything. And the more we love, the more we strive towards that unified field and feeling joy, taking self-responsibility for how we feel, the more we practice and the more we experience that vibration. And together we do lift the vibration of this whole place and of the experiences that all of us get to have together. We are vibrating together and are co-creating this dynamic adventure. So thanks to Isla for a beautiful conversation today on this show, and we look forward to sharing with you next time. Thank you for joining us, and be well. Aloha.